and that's it. So Brad, will call the meeting to order at 7:04,
Okay,
if you could note that.
totally.
Tanya and Brad, you'll be familiar with this because it was, I think, where we ended up last month, at least at the very beginning. First agenda item is review and approval of the meeting minutes from last month. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
I motion to approve last month's meetings or meeting minutes.
And someone, Tanya, could second the motion?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining us tonight. We are just starting. So Elizabeth, I just noted to the group that we always start off these meetings with a public forum. So if you've got anything you want to bring in front of the board, this is a perfect time to do it, as we carve out that space at the very front, so you don't have to wait if you don't want to bring anything up. Looks like Jim, what have you got tonight?
Just a question, Chris. Last select board meeting, they mentioned a grant that was coming through.
Yes.
What was it, $48,000?
I've got it right in front of me. Hold on one second. It is, I believe it is the Agency of Transportation seeking applications for bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure improvements. Do you think does that sound familiar?
Yeah, okay.
And
I thought it was sidewalk evaluations.
yes. Oh, that is the other agenda item that
That's what I was
that Valerie asked me to put on. That's for us to look at, hold on, I don't want to get the language incorrect here. And it's attached to what I just said. So we want to submit an application for sidewalk scoping study for improvements to the West Street South Side sidewalk from Holly Hall to the Creamy Stand.
Okay, would that be an engineering study?
It sounds like it. It sounds like trying to get all the groundwork laid.
Right.
Pardon me, not the groundwork laid, the actual, all of the details and things like that taken care of in advance of anything. It doesn't sound, based on what she mentioned here, it doesn't say anything about any forward movement. I would assume that this is similar, if not exactly the same, as the scoping study they did for Munsell Ave as well as for Airport, like 2 years ago or whenever it was.
Right. Okay, I just thought it was kind of high for a study on sidewalks. Even if it is an engineering study, it seems like a lot of money.
I'll note that she
Part
did
of the
not. I will note, Jim, that she did not put a dollar figure in here for us to consider. It was only she wanted to know if we're interested in supporting it. The select board would appreciate a letter of support
Right.
from the board. She did not attach a number, but $48,000.
I thought maybe I was wrong, but I thought they were mentioning 48,000. But okay, as long as something's going through, that's good.
I honestly, I'll have to check my notes. We weren't directly involved in fact, we weren't involved in the Munsell study at all.
Right.
When they did that 2.5 or 3 years ago initially. I feel like that was relatively, I don't want to use the word expensive, but it was not cheap.
Right.
And I think it also included public outreach and things of that nature as well. I would assume that this thing's going to follow the same suit.
Yeah. Is that our new grant administrator there?
It is, Jim.
Hello,
This is
welcome
Frida.
aboard. Glad to have you. We really.
Hi, Jim. Yes, I am. I'm happy to jump in anytime you guys want, but I don't want to interrupt your flow. But yes,
No,
the thing that you're talking about is a grant that we are applying for. It's the application is actually due in 2 weeks, but we're
Yep.
in good shape to apply. And it is exactly what Chris has described, a scoping study for that really bad sidewalk from, right through town, from the town offices right to the Creamy Stand.
Right.
And it's in terrible condition, and in some places
Non-existent.
Yeah.
an
Non-existent.
actual
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Keep up the good job.
So it,
Sorry, Frida, you're cutting out a little
the
bit. I
scoping
think
study to take a look at what it would cost. Okay, sorry. Yeah, we will go for a different grant when it comes to construction for that.
got it. Perfect. Before we move forward, let me just ask Elizabeth. Elizabeth, do you have any public anything you want to bring in front of the group tonight, or are you just here to listen and participate? I'm sorry, you're muted right now.
I am here to listen and participate, and I will try to figure out how to change my screen name to say Betsy.
Betsy, got it. Okay, no problem. We will remember that, even if the
Yeah.
software fights you on your
I don't
mission
know,
there.
but-
Okay, great to know. Okay, then actually, Frida, that's a perfect segue into the next agenda item, the quarterly initiatives and grants. The reason why we've commingled two things is for about a year and a half now, we've had quarterly initiatives as something we've been trying to do as a group. This goes back to our challenge with getting a quorum on these meetings. Our goal was on a quarterly basis to bring at least one initiative in front of the select board for consideration. So it's a standing agenda item that we discuss typically the same initiatives every month, but Brad, I don't know, you'd have to tell me from the notes when the last time was that we had a quorum that we could vote on something for. I'm guessing it was the first meeting that Jess Teets was involved in, which would have been 5 months ago or something like that, 4 or 5 months ago at least.
Mhm.
Anyway, we've commingled those because both Ian and Jessica suggested to us that one of a good way to put something in front of the select board when it came to these initiatives was to take an initiative that could be paired with a grant that might be out there that to fund it. So we've just combined those two agenda items together so that we can always discuss them in pairs. I will say now before Frida, before we let you tear loose, Ian has asked me to bring in front of the group a formal request for us to put in front of the select board a suggestion for an assisted crosswalk at the North Street and Spring/Pleasant Street intersection. That's what they want to consider. He wants this in front of them. It looks like we're going to be challenged to do that unless 2 other people show up before Tanya has to bounce at 7:20. So that all said, Frida, thank you for joining us tonight. We pretend we know nothing other than that you are the town grant administrator. Take it away. Tell us who you are, what you do, how we should approach you, rules of engagement, anything you want to. The floor is yours.
I think she's cut out.
I think she's cut out. Frida, you're frozen.
Okay, bear with me. Oh, hold on a second.
Now you're muted.
Okay, are we good now?
It still seems like your screen is frozen. And I'm guessing there's a lag in the voice.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear us? I don't think we can hear you.
Okay, are we good yet?
Hopefully.
Okay, I'm sorry for that. I'm up in Belvedere and it's like the middle of nowhere. And so I had to like shut off everything in the house to see if it will help. So hopefully that helps. So there are grants for just about anything that you can think of. And when I say that, people often laugh, but it's really, really true. So if you need funding for crosswalks, traffic calming, sidewalks, even biking trails and rec trails, if you guys do that as well, there are grants for all of those. So I guess start including me with your emails with your agenda. Does your agenda actually list what kind of the cooking ideas are, or not necessarily?
No, the agenda doesn't, but we do keep a folder with initiatives that we've proposed and kicked around. And the meeting minutes
Mhm.
also always detail the initiatives that we've been considering.
Okay,
So what we'll actually do is we'll save you the effort of combing through the last 6 months of meeting minutes. We'll put together a short list of the things that we've been considering, as well as things that are adjacent topics. Like you mentioned, trails.
Mhm.
Trails are something that we discuss probably every third meeting because we're lightly connected to the group that's doing the trail making in and around town.
is that Porter Knight and her group?
No, it's not. We do have a connection to we do have some outreach to the BTN, but this is the group
Is it
that's doing.
Meredith and the rec group, or is it
No,
another?
no, it's the group that's doing the trails out at Brad, help me out. What's the
Is it
mountain bike?
the New Leaf?
New Leaf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
New Leaf.
So I don't know anything about that. So if you want to email me or fill me in on that, that would be great, because I'll help you find money for that too.
That would actually that would allow us to really get them more engaged in these meetings. We've been trying to get them in, including trying to get one of them on a board seat. Oh, Elizabeth, Betsy, what do you got?
When you make that dandy retrospective email for her, could you send me a copy too, so I know what's around in ideas?
Of course. What's the best way to get in touch with you, Betsy?
Well, you could use email. That would be Betsy Blair, BETSY BLAIR 33@gmail.com. My email is imperfect, and once in a while it has about a 4-day delay, even for somebody else on Gmail living a mile and a half from me.
Okay.
I don't understand this, and even text messages have sometimes failed.
Okay.
So I don't know. I would suggest that if you need to speak to me, that you try calling both of my phone numbers. Do you have either of those?
No, but what we'll do is we will email you and get those offline. So these meetings are
Okay.
recorded, so we don't,
Okay,
so your
fine.
phone number isn't a matter of public record, but we will email you and get your phone number that way.
Okay.
All right. So Frida, yes, there's a group that's been building mountain bike trails out at New Leaf. They've been doing, not unlike Vermont area snowball, not unlike the vast
Mhm.
effort to get approvals from landowners. They're doing something similar with mountain bike trails. Their eventual goal is to get mountain bike trails that run from the village out to New Leaf and then over the mountain to the watershed.
Okay,
So they have pretty big
big
ideas,
plan.
and
Are they a nonprofit?
they are, what do they call it? The Mob, Mountain Bike Bristol. I'll send, I don't know if they have any kind of status whatsoever, or if they're just
If they're just a local group, or if they're
if they're just a
actually
local club.
Yeah, they
but
should. That'll be interesting, because if they're not a nonprofit, it'd be worth their probably worth their time to look into it. It
I
opens
will-
up a lot of funding opportunities, a
I
lot.
will I will let them know. They're a great group, very active, and they've done in the 2 or 3 years they've been working away at this. They've done amazing things up at New Leaf, and I
Cool.
know they've got designs on doing much more. So
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. I love partnerships, and the state really loves partnerships. So the more of that kind of bridge building and team playing that we can get, the better
terrific.
when it comes to funding.
Yeah, like I said, we've been trying to get at least one of their members to come over and at least sit on these calls. We've actually been trying to get 2 of them off and on to be board members. And they've kept kind of pushing us off, but they are a good group. They're nominally associated with Meredith and her gang.
Mhm.
So there is already a connection there. She's involved with them as well. So
Okay.
but I'll get us I'll connect it as a group. So
Great. So yeah, I guess email is the best way to communicate with me since I do work remotely, and I mean, I'm happy to share with you my cell phone number through email if you want, but telephone wise, that would be the way to go.
Yeah.
And I'm super fast to respond, and I really like to be on top of things. So
Got it.
I'll be happy to get right on it when I see your project list and start looking at available funds. And believe me when I say there are funds for everything that you guys can think of. So we'll just
That's,
take them one by one and be patient. And I understand and kind of giggle at the select board telling you come to us not just with an idea, but with money for it. They love
we,
ideas, so they don't want to pay for them. So
well, that's, and
Yeah.
we want to make things easy for the select board.
Yeah.
You know, that at the end of the day, we're an advisory group where, our history is Jessica Teets and some friends of hers, friends and associates of hers 4 or 5 years ago, started an ad hoc group to do studies and outreach into the town to improve infrastructure and pedestrian and bicycle safety.
Oh, wow. So it really started grassroots with you
It
guys.
started grassroots.
That's really cool.
The select board eventually chartered it,
Mhm.
and the entire ad hoc committee at that point was like, our work is done.
Mhm.
Somebody else can take it over. And that's when the town put out the call for committee members to join about a little over 2 years ago. So we've been, anything we can do, and we've gone in front of the select board previously, and we've gotten to see community reaction to initiatives and things like that. We've also had a lot of people on these calls from time to time about some of the initiatives that the select board even had chartered us with investigating. So, like I said, I really feel, I think we as a group really feel strongly about giving them an easy path towards saying yes to some of these things. And what their suggestion was that there was a grant attached that tends to alleviate a lot of people's concerns. Not all of them, but certainly who's going to pay for this?
It's a smart way to do business, really. It's a good planning mechanism to come at it with the funding source in mind. And you're right, it's a good way to get yeses.
Yes. So as far as rules of engagement, I think more importantly, like just best practices around grants and things like that. What's the best way? Should we include you, includes the wrong word, but should we come to you with ideas and then you tell us what's available? Or do you feel like it's actually easier for you to say, hey, you know what? I know you just said there's grants available for everything, but sometimes knowing that there's specific grants out there, and we're not asking you to do the work of the committees, but sometimes if you know if specific grants are out there, we can tailor an idea around it as well.
I'm open to doing this both ways. I say
Okay.
let that go both ways, right? So
Yeah.
if I know of a grant, and I do know of several right off the top of my head, that would be specific to bike ped,
Yep.
then I will let you guys know.
Yep.
And likewise, when I see your ideas list, if there's something on there that's really specific, I don't know, a pump track comes to mind just because I've been discussing it lately with the rec girls.
Well, they want
If there's
another
something
pump.
if there's something like really specific like that I also know there's a specific grant for that, then I'll let you know.
Got
So
it.
let's just have that be an open communication
Okay.
between your group and me. If you have some weird bike ped idea that you're coming up with, include me in that idea and I'll start sniffing out the money, and vice versa. If I like I've told you, there are traffic calming grants, a lot of AOT stuff. So
Yeah.
really anything you can think of that has to do with like in the village, almost an easy shoe-in that there's a grant for it, because the state really wants walkable,
Yep.
friendly villages, which Bristol is. So if anything to improve that, there is money for. But I'm talking like anything out of the box ideas.
We actually do. We have one that's it's mostly in the village, but requested by people who live in the town. For more bike racks located in specific places, because what they found was when a couple people have reached out to us from the town and said, when we come into town, we like to lock our bikes up there so that we don't have to bring them in the car and all of that. And so we've got a document going that's an audit of all of the bike racks around the village. And they've given us some ideas of where they'd like to potentially see other places for either bike racks or bike storage of some kind, not
Okay.
unlike what they do in some of the bike storage options in Burlington. So a lot of what we're trying to do is obviously think beyond the village as well. We're not trying to be super village centric.
Right.
But as you noted, like a lot of this stuff is going to coalesce around the village as far as the location is concerned, simply because it's a walkable community.
Better Places grants comes to mind right away for the bike racks and stuff in the village. That would be kind of an easy one, I think, to find funds for.
Okay, great. All
Now,
right,
when I say that, it's not a guarantee that you're going to get those funds, but
Understood.
apply. And if you don't get them, apply again. Because that just shows the state that the town is serious about the need for the money and that they won't move forward with the project without the money. So,
Understood. That's good to know. Okay.
so
If
don't
we
be shy
were,
about asking more than once.
no, that's actually super helpful to know, because I'll just say we're not easily discouraged as a group. I won't get into
That's good.
why, but we're
Will come in
not
handy.
easily, like, if at least I know for myself, if I was easily discouraged, say by the board not having a quorum every month, like I'd probably give up at this point.
So everything from small, what I would consider small, anything, I guess our perspectives may be a little different because I'm talking to a really
Yeah.
specific group right now, but in my mind, anything small would be like 10 to 15,000. But all the way up to, there's really large pockets of money for much bigger ideas, like
Okay.
that, biking trails and
Yeah.
networks and stuff like that outside of the village. Like you're saying, there are large pots of money for bigger projects like that where partnerships come into play. So whatever you're mentioning with the biking, the
The trail,
idea of a
that
biking
gang,
trail
yeah.
network, partnerships would come and play great in a grant like that. And that would be like the VOREC grant that the town actually recently applied for, and in my personal opinion, did a very lousy application and unsurprisingly did not get awarded. But it is an outdoor rec grant. And Bristol would be a perfect town to get that, right? I mean, you think of outdoor rec, you think of Bristol, seriously.
Yes.
So stuff like that. So there's money for smaller things like bike racks all the way up to bigger things like bike trails. So don't be shy about throwing ideas out, and keeping a list of your ideas. Excellent idea to keep a list.
We have this list. I will forward
Perfect.
it to you. I'll forward it to Betsy. It'll be a good reminder for the entire gang of the things that we've been discussing, both seriously and often, as well as some of the things that are tangential to what we've talked about as well. But that's good. It's super good perspective for us to know what's considered a small grant versus what we could potentially be looking at down the road. And I will say too, on the grant writing side, we will be very active and collaboratory as far as helping write as compelling of a case as possible. A few of us on the board our day jobs are to compel people to do things. So yeah, hopefully we can.
I think we'll be a good team. It sounds like.
I look forward. I think we look forward to it. So
good.
Tanya, I realize you're 7 minutes off of your goodbye date. I'm not even sure if you're still on. Okay, got it.
But I did wonder, since we wanted to actually get something done with quorum, is it possible to see if we can re-meet in the next week when people are actually available, or do we have to wait a month for that?
No, we actually don't. It's a good question. We don't. We have to, the biggest things we have to do are follow the open meeting rules. We have to post 2 days in advance an agenda, and that the meeting will be happening. The meeting has to be public, which all of our meetings and all of our actual decision making are. We've been very careful since day one not to discuss or decide anything outside of these meetings. So I think that's a good suggestion. After the meeting, we'll send around a note and say, look, gang, I mean, you read the email that I sent earlier this week. This was a request from the select board that we tackle a specific issue and get it in front of them as a proposal. And then the clerk sent an additional thing for us to consider to agree on and write a letter of recommendation for. Without a quorum, we can't do either of those things. Yes, Betsy?
So I saw this on Front Porch Forum. Is it posted anywhere else?
It's always posted. Yep, it's always posted on the town's website.
Okay.
Okay, we have the agenda. The agenda should typically be there on Tuesday of the week of these meetings. And also, again, this is a standing meeting, 7 p.m. fourth Thursday of every month.
Okay.
So we stay in that cadence. We stay pretty locked in as far as everything we're doing. But as far as other places that we can do outreach to, I can certainly ask some of the groups like Mountain Bike Bristol, the rec department, and groups like that to post it on their Facebook pages and things like that as well. So,
Okay, and I'll be on your email list too, right?
yeah, you'll be like the third person to get on our email list.
Okay.
We haven't had too many, so.
One other question that I had, I guess, for Frida, and that is, if we know the name of a grant, then that means we can Google it and find it.
Do you mean if I'm referencing it or letting you guys?
Like
know about
you
it?
mentioned to him the name of some grant, and I'm wondering, is that enough for him to just find it? Or is
Probably he
it-
could Google it. I think he can Google anything, but I would not leave you guys with just that. I will actually, I'll send you guys links and direct documents
Okay,
so that you know what I'm referencing.
Got it. And we'll actually copy you, Frida, on the meeting minutes so that you can correct anything that Brad might have noted that was like added detail about that one grant you mentioned, say that the application was a fail for whatever, like anything like that. Any of those details will obviously help. We'll put hyperlinks to those things in the meeting notes, maybe moving forward, Brad, once we get corrections on that stuff.
Perfect.
Okay, so that's awesome. Looking very much forward to all that. If no one has any other quarterly initiatives and grants, the last item before we wrap up is other business. I've covered everything that has been put in front of us as far as what we needed to discuss. Brad, I note that last month I was supposed to forward around to everybody the draft of the survey. I'll do that, but I'm noting that there's already a survey out there in the community right now that's kind of kicking up a lot of dust around the bandstand redesign. And from what I've seen from people, I'm not sure where that survey came from. I'm not sure if it was a private citizen that took it upon themselves to put it out there, but it'll be a good month for us to kind of keep quiet with our survey and just kick it around amongst all of us, and then we can discuss at the next meeting and then send out. So that's what I'll do. Jim.
That particular survey was put out by the president of the band, of the Bristol band.
Interesting. Okay,
Put it out.
because I don't know if you've
I think her name is Noelle Rose.
okay. By the time I saw it, it was game of telephone. It was like a couple people deep in having been forwarded and posted on Facebook. But what I did notice was a lot of people were reacting to it sort of negatively from the standpoint of like, why do I need to tell them every single thing about myself before I actually weigh in on what my thoughts are on the bandstand? And that is oddly, that was my main concern with the survey that we're going to initially put out through Local Motion, was that it was asking for far too much demographic information
Right.
for people to have to wade through. Sorry, Betsy, it looked like you had something to say.
oh, I just wanted to say that it didn't cross my mind to go to that survey because I didn't recognize that person's name and I didn't know, who was just gonna do data mining.
Yes. Jim, do you have any thoughts on that? Did you have anything? I don't know if you saw the
But
actual
I
survey.
agree. I agree. That should be
Yeah,
put
so
out
they,
there.
when they come and they say, well, here's the results of our survey. Well, you don't know how many people did it and how many people decided they didn't want to do it.
Yes. And I think from what I was seeing, a lot of people were deciding not to do it. And it's like, that's not what you want. You want people participating in it, but you don't want the survey itself to turn people off from participating. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly some of the comments we had on this survey that Local Motion is going to do for us. It's like, gang, don't ask people 30 questions about themselves first. You don't need that information. We're not going to use it. We want to know how people are using the streets, not all that demographic stuff.
Until the time that an actual group is appointed to do the survey concerning the bandstand, it shouldn't be out there.
That's good to know. Thank you for enlightening us on where that came from. I know it's tangential to what we're talking about, but oddly, that'll inform how we move forward with our survey.
Exactly.
Okay. Does anybody have any other business for tonight? Frida, thank you so much for joining. Betsy, thanks a lot. Jim, it's great to see you. Betsy, we'll send you, we'll copy you on the list that we're going to send out to the group, including Frida, as far as the initiatives that we've been considering are. Brad, I'm gonna ask you for a motion to adjourn, and then I guess I'm gonna second. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, and I will second it. Note that we are adjourning at 7:34 PM.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for the attendance. It's great seeing everybody.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.